performance, or I have to say it right or do something perfectly. I just let it come out of my heart, and that's really where conversation comes out of. And so they're going to be sharing in a few minutes, but before they share, I want us to go ahead and direct our attention to the screens. We're going to just see a quick video.
Quiero entregarte mi sueño, tu voluntad, haz en ellos. Mi corazón te lo entrego, enamórame de ti. Quiero aprender a escucharte. Quiero saber qué es amarte. De tu verdad yo saciarme. Enamórame de ti, Señor. Que tu presencia me inunde, haz de mí uno de nuevo, cámbiame, renuévame, enamórame de ti, Señor. ¿Cuántos quieren estar enamorados de Él? Dile con todo tu corazón. Quiero entregarte mi sueño, tu voluntad, haz en ellos. Mi corazón te lo entrego, enamórame de ti. Quiero aprender a escucharte. Quiero saber qué es amarte. De tu verdad yo saciarme. Enamórame de ti, Señor. Que tu presencia, que tu presencia
Everyone in tres. Uno, dos, tres. We had an incredible trip. We had a great time. It was such a blessing. And God not only, certainly He moved in our hearts. And our prayer is that God moved in the hearts of those that we were able to connect with and impact, from the churches that we visited, the schools, and certainly the kids that we were able to interact with. Such a great time. But I'm going to invite the whole team to come on up. And so they're gonna come up, and I want to give everybody an opportunity to share. As much as they want or as little as they want, but I certainly want everybody to share, and then I'll kind of share some of my thoughts as we close up today. And so let's welcome all of our missionaries today. One thing I didn't tell them that I'm going to ask them to do now is I'm going to ask them all to speak in Spanish. Just kidding. They were nervous enough, and then I said Spanish, and but anyhow, so I'm going to turn over the mic, and who wants to share first? Are we? All right.
So first I want to say thank you to everyone who supported me, friends and family. It was just a great experience, and I just wanted you guys to know that you guys were a part of that. Honestly, I thought I knew what to expect, and I expected a little village. But it was much more than that. My dad, Lisa, and I got to speak to the 6th graders. And of course, they did have they clapped for my dad and Lisa, but when I spoke, they were just really excited and listened to me really well because I was their age, and I was their age and I was their height too. So, yeah, and they thought that because I was their age, they could accomplish what I could have. So, yeah, and it was really great, and I was friends with everybody. Everybody wanted to be around me, but a few things I got on the second day were I got 6 pieces of candy from everybody. They got me candy. They got everybody candy. I got a juice that was in a bag. I got uncountable amount of hugs, and I actually got a love note from this boy. Now, the third day we were there, I got 2 bags of chips, way more hugs, and I got a headband with jewels and a ring from the same guy who gave me the love note. But I also got a ring from my good friend. She gave me her ring, and I also got a picture from my other good friend. She said so I will always remember her, and I always will. They had an assembly at their school, and everybody was saying, "Rebecca, come over here. Rebecca, come over here." So I sat in about 5 different seats. And we were so close physically. There were about 5 people on each seat. So it was just an amazing experience, and I know I'll miss all of them. We were on a hike going to Cristo del Picacho, and I was looking over the city, and I thought, we're a small part of this city. We did a small thing, and we only impacted a small amount of kids, but those kids will have a huge impact. We impacted Tegucigalpa, and they'll remember that for the rest of their lives, and we will remember this for the rest of our lives. Even though it was 1 week, we'll remember it forever. So I would encourage you, next time you get a chance to do something like this, go, because you'll have an amazing experience, and you'll impact so many kids, so many people, and it'll impact your life.
I want to thank everybody who supported us in this mission trip, and I want to kind of share like a testimony of where this mission trip all began. I was about 12 years old, and there was this little envelope that came in the mail, and it said, help the children, feed the children. And I was only 12 years old, but I used to do some babysitting, and I saw there was an amount of $5, $10, $20, $25, and then I thought, wow. Right away, I knew that my heart was set, to help these children. So I started donating $5 a month. And of course, as I grew older, God's plan was for me to have 4 wonderful, beautiful children. And as I got into middle school, they had doors were open for them. There was an opportunity for them to go on a mission trip. And so, my heart was set to give my children this experience. And so when they came back from mission trip, they shared their experience there, and all the love and joy, and how they were filled with God's love. And so, I just kept on walking the path that God gave me, raising my children. And this year, at the beginning of the year, I think we started at 21 days of prayer here at the church. And I remember Pastor Paul asking us to pray for our dreams. And so I started thinking, well, what is my dream? I know God put me in this world to be a mother and raise my children, and to, lend a helping hand to other people. But what really was my dream? And I just started focusing on, oh, wow, I think my dream was wanting to go to Orlando, Florida, to SeaWorld. But then I said, no, that's not it. I know I can do that. I know I can do that, but I know there's another dream that I had as a childhood. So I started praying about how I wanted to go on a mission trip. And Pastor Paul says, don't dream only about like dreams like now, that you have the dreams you have now, but pray at the dreams you had as a child. So I started praying about how I wanted to be used, and I wanted to be used for the glory of God. So I started praying about my dream about, going on a mission trip. I had no idea that months later, Pastor Paul was saying, that the church was thinking about going on a mission trip. And when he said that we were going to plan a mission trip to Honduras, I was like, there's my dream. There's my dream. And I know that when you have dreams, you have to pray and be faithful to those dreams, because God has a plan and a purpose for all of us. And I kept on praying, dear Lord, I have a lot of brokenness and a lot of hurt in my life, but please use that brokenness in your glory. And so I didn't even think twice about this trip, to go on this trip, because I know that, God, He knows your heart, and He knows your dreams. And so I'm just so thankful that everybody who supported us and who blessed us with this trip. And yes, you guys were part of this blessing. Also, I felt like a lot of negative things in my life. And I said, dear Lord, I want to be surrounded around your love, your joy, and being around people who are positive, who are faithful to you, who love you, and who will let their love shine through them to show me your love. And so when I was in Honduras, I was so overwhelmed with all the love that those children had to give to us at the orphanage, the people who were there who loved these children. They loved them with all their heart. You could see God's love shine through all of them. Every one of them, the kids, they were loving, joyful, giving. I mean, I know that this money that they had, it was either, for them for a snack, for their lunch or something, but they went out, like Becca said, they went out and they bought all of us a piece of candy. And constantly they were telling us, giving us hugs or showing us, that they loved us, telling us, I love you, and hugs, and just interacting with those children and seeing it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Playing soccer with these kids, it was amazing. Patty cake, Red Rover, Red Rover. We had a lot of fun, and God just showed me all His love, and that He's so faithful to us if we believe, and we never give up on our dreams.
Okay, so I'm just going to read this because this is really hard to be up here, but this is what I wrote. So when I first heard about this mission trip, I knew instantly that I wanted to be a part of this great experience. I wasn't sure how everything was going to work out, but I was determined to go no matter what. Even though there were some obstacles to go through, God gave us the courage and strength to get through them all. God had great plans for each of us. I had no fear because I knew He would take care of us. He used each team member to be the light on this mission. We all had something different to offer. We are all God's hands and feet to serve one another. We are all one in God's kingdom, serving Him. My experience on this mission trip, I cannot describe with words, but I can tell you God has filled my heart with joy and happiness. When we went to the church services, it was so alive, full of passion and love for God. There was such a strong presence of God that filled the air. It was so amazing to be a part of that. They all had so much love, and they worshiped with all their hearts. I am so thankful and blessed for Andy Smith and his family for inviting us to have the opportunity to experience the blessing of missionary work. He took great care of all of us at all times. We had a great group to spread the love of God. We are all called to do this together. We all win. Everything about this trip was amazing. The time we had with each kid, I will treasure forever. I give all glory to God for the strength He gave us to work each day and the love shining through us to make an impact in each one of our lives to last forever. Can't wait for the next mission. And then I also want to talk a little bit about Andy Smith and his missionary and sponsoring a child. So we were able to sponsor a child while we were there, and we were able to see where our money goes, what this whole missionary is all about, because we were there and we got to experience all that. It is very, very important to make a difference in someone's lives. And then I had a little quote from Mother Teresa: if you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. And then I also want to thank Tammy for making really good food for my family, taking care of them back home. And I want to thank everyone for all their prayers and all their love and all their support. That's it.
So, okay, so I had some stuff written down on my phone and it was deleted, and so, Okay, so okay, so there is. I think this was a good experience for me. Just like what they say, the people were filled with joy and happiness, and I just wanted to surround myself with that. And um, we had a lot of fun, and we laughed a lot because of things, and and we made a nickname for Lisa because she forgot everything, and so we call her Dory now. And okay, and we went to a restaurant, and and she went to the bathroom, and she went to go take some pictures, and there were like bushes and trees, and all of a sudden, all these birds come out and, and start attacking her. And oh yeah, and there was these two babies at the orphanage, and I connected with one of them, and it was a cool experience to see Blaze and JoJo. Becca named them Blaze and JoJo, and it was just cool to be able to hold them, and one of them was laughing and smiling the whole time, and it was a cool experience.
Praise the Lord. I am really humbled and happy to be here this morning, coming into the United States again. You know, I could tell you all kind of things about what was over there, but I want to share with you. So I was raised in church, and all my life I wanted to do a mission work. I was groomed to do so. My dad would throw me in at the last minute and say, do it. So I'd have to figure out how to teach or sing or show the children something. My mom taught me to love. No matter what, you go through love. And so we went. Let me just start that this year as well, something started changing inside of me. Because for many of you that know me, in my 40s, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I went through a rollover accident that broke my back, and I thought to myself, this is it. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do from now on but get better and get healed and have my beautiful children and my wonderful grandchildren, and I thought there's more. There's more. So this year when we were listening to the sermons at the beginning of the year and also the dream, and at the back of my head is like, I just want to share you, God. I need to share you. I need to share you. You've brought me out of cancer. You've brought me out of this situation that I was in, and I stepped away and did my own thing for so many years, but now God used me. So I was sitting in church one day when he said, we're going to do this mission trip, and I was sitting there literally, I felt, that's you, Lisa. I'm sending you, and you're going to go. So I ran to pastor after church. I'm like, can I go? And everything from beginning to end fell into perfect place, knowing that it was the Lord's will that I had finally stepped into his will. Financially, everything fell into place because I don't make much money. I went, we flew out, and thanks to God, you know, a lot of my family worries about me, but Pastor Paul, knowing jiu-jitsu, and Pastor, hey, there's a future, Brother Josh being a police officer and all that. Well, we were safe and secure there between these two. And let me just clarify one little tiny thing. At the very beginning, the picture, when we arrived in Honduras, Brother Andy took us to Pizza Hut. So Brother Josh is hiding a box of pizza. So it's not him hugging me, he's got pizza there. So that was our first experience. We got to eat some good pizza. Then we met Brother Andy, and if you're listening, Brother Andy, God bless you, brother. He is tall, he is big, they call him La Montaña, and he knows Honduras, and I will tell you one thing, the only thing that I'm going to tell you is that I drive for a living with St. Mary's Hospital. I will never, ever, ever complain about traffic again, ever. They made their own lanes. I mean, it was scary. I was scared. I was in a rollover accident, so a lot of little things like, oh. But you know what? God was with us every step of the way, no accidents. You know, we went to the first stop that we went to, we hadn't slept, we hadn't showered, and Brother Andy's like, we're going to go and we're going to start shopping now for the children. So there we go, and we go to their mall, and we're speaking Spanish and trying to figure out their words and shopping for the children. And then the next day we get going again, and we go to the orphanage, and I was breathless because the countryside, the mountains is beautiful. We go in and we start seeing the children in the orphanage, and they are amazing, full of love. What is your name and who are you? And they want to know all about you. And at the end of it, I mean, they were calling me Tia, and they wanted me to stay there, and I'm like, oh, I would love to, but I have got to go home to my family, because in my mind, I had already purposed that I was going to share with my grandchildren and my daughters, because I want them to have that heart to serve others, to share the love of God. And I'm telling you, when I came back yesterday, I still hadn't slept but 2 hours, and they came over, and I was so excited to share with them, and they sat with me at a little laptop that one of my daughters brought over. They watched over 1,000 pictures that I took and video clips that I would love to share, and I will be sharing. But at the end of it, they sat there, and they're ready. They're ready to go on a mission trip. My oldest grandson, Cruz, he's like, we're going to go in 2 years, right, Grandma? And so each of my grandchildren are anxious and ready to be serving the Lord in that capacity. And I'm so thankful that God gave me that opportunity. Then we went to the school. And we went to the school, and, you know, I know that God hand-selected each one of us. But I can imagine what Pastor and Brother Josh were thinking, like, oh, my goodness, how are we going to get 5 rooms painted with our crew? 2 men, you know, Brother Andy, and a couple of children, and 3 ladies, 2 grandmas, you know. But we did it. We did it, and it was so much fun. And then the breaks in between to go and play with the children. Oh, I didn't even want to stop playing after we got started. But then we go back, and then I thought to myself, as I'm painting, I'm praying for the rooms and for the protection of those children and for the teachers. I met the teachers, and I'm telling you, their handbook is handwritten. Everything is written out. The children had to copy his book. That's how they learned. If they learn English, they get a chance to work at a store or a restaurant if they learn English. They are a beautiful, beautiful children. And we got to walk through their little community, and they would run out and say hi to us because they lived in that area. I'm telling you, it was such an amazing experience. The love and the joy that those children have, the love that the teachers, instructors, and caregivers have, it's genuine, it's God-filled, it's indescribable. I cannot describe the experience that I had, but I come back, and I'm here, and I'm like, if I'm in a dream, Lord, don't wake me up yet. I don't want to wake up just yet. Let me just share your love just a little bit more, God. Let me just share your love with this child here that reaches up to hug me, because we don't know what their future is once they reach the 6th grade. That's it for most. If they're lucky, they can go to the 9th grade at a different school. But what next? And I thought of our children here, how they have so much. But it's up to us parents to teach them like my parents did me. They started teaching me when I was younger. There's more for you out there. There's more for you to do. And it's up to us as parents not to allow our children just to sit there on their computers and their laptops and their games. You got to teach them that there's more for them to share out there. There's so much more for them to do out there. You know, the Lord's coming soon. His time it's close. We're able to reach people in other countries now, to be able to go. He's coming soon, and it's this short. Time is this short. So I want to reach out to children, and I want to teach my children to reach out, and I want to teach my grandchildren, reach out and touch someone, share the love of God. And I want to thank my sponsors too. They took out of their time and their money, and they chose things to send with me, gloves and music that came and scripts that came from across the United States, people just sharing, wanting to be a part of this mission. And you were. The children, our children in our church, you were amazing, because I was able to show the children in the orphanage the song that you shared with them, the handprints that you left on the poster, and I left them a picture of you saying hi to them. So I want to thank the children of Junction Community Church for sharing. And and if you looked on my Facebook page, you'll see those children singing a song to you. God bless you. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. And thank you, Pastor, for allowing me to be a part of this mission. I will never, ever forget it, and I'm just beginning.
I don't even know where to begin. Even just making the trip was just God's movement. Because originally this trip was supposed to happen when I was in Indiana on vacation. So the dates didn't work out. And if you guys don't know, any law enforcement, we pretty much have to schedule our vacations 6 months in advance. But when we were at small group, one night Pastor said, well, the dates are changing. Told us the new dates. At that moment, I looked at my wife, who gave me the look of death. Because we just got, the Indiana trip, our finances were tied up. But I was like, I'm checking, as soon as I get back to work, I'm checking vacation to see if that block's even open. Because I had prayed about it when the trip was originally set for June. I was like, God, you got to move these dates. I've missed a couple, missed some back in Arizona. I'm like, I feel you're calling me to this, so you need to work. You need to change those dates. And then he did. And then, second was like, all right, God, when I get to work, you need to make that vacation time available. And he made that available. And then it was like, all right, you've moved 2 mountains, now let's move them finances and allow me to go on this trip. And he was able to do that too. So me even being able to get to Honduras was, just God's movement in itself. And then what can I say about being there? It was a truly amazing experience. And you can read about it. One interesting fact about Honduras is their airport is the ninth most dangerous landing airport because of its terrain and the shortness of the runway. So that was pretty interesting. Then you get there, and there's military police. It's a lot different than here, but at no point did I really ever feel unsafe. The most difficulties I had on the trip was a little bit of stomach issues, but that allowed me to eat plenty of good Honduras food and actually lose weight. So that was actually a blessing that I was having stomach issues. But being there and seeing these kids, and I understand that you're gonna there's many countries that are gonna have poverty-stricken areas. When I lived in Yuma, I visited numerous of those down in Mexico. And so I know that they're all over the place, but these kids here at this school truly changed the way that I looked at things. And it made me miss home, and not because I was I miss stuff. I'm thankful for what I have. But it's not that I miss that. Seeing the joy in these kids' faces. Like, we've got a Dropbox full of 1,000+ pictures. So what you saw, the clip, was a small part of those. But when you look through these pictures and you see these genuine smiles on these kids' faces. And yeah, some of it had to do because we were there and we were visiting. But even on day one, when some of the kids were a little reluctant to come up and talk to us, the joy they had playing in this small area at their school. And it just resonated, just a pure joy. Now, they know about stuff. They've seen it on TV. They know of the Americas, and all the movies show all the fancy stuff. But their joy was pure. Like, yeah, they didn't have this stuff, but they still had joy. And that is probably the biggest thing that impacted me is there's a great phrase here, so don't cry over spilled milk. And how many of us do that? Like, the little things that we complain about. My 4G phone's not fast enough. It's irritating me. Kids spill something. Like the small things that steal our joy. These kids don't have 1/100th of what we have been blessed with here in this country. But their joy is pure. The love for God that they have is pure. And that's something that it impacted me, that I'm definitely going to just change the way I see things. Because why are we letting all these small things in our life, these insignificant things, really take joy from us? God's blessed us. They know that. God's blessed them with life. God's blessed them with the ability to attend a school. And, and the spot they're at isn't the greatest. I've got some pictures, is right behind the school. You see some barbed wire, and then you see this soccer field that the kids used to be able to play with. But once the local gangs realized that, there was American money in this school and missionaries, they said, well, if your kids want to play in the soccer field, you're going to have to pay us now. So they lost the ability to go out and enjoy this field. But the kids still had joy. They used little alleyways at their school to play soccer, which was a good time. I've got plenty of bruises on my shin. Kids play rough. But just seeing them smile all the time, at every recess, at every moment when they're in class, they're enjoying life. And if anything impacts you, or you remember anything out of what we have all said and what we have all shared, let that be it. Don't let the small things steal your joy. Remember, God's blessed us with much. I want to do much. This was the first of many mission trips for myself and my family. Sponsoring a kid, I didn't get to at that school. We stopped at another school, and I was able to sponsor a kid there, which those details are going to be finalized. So I'm excited about getting that started. But yeah, just remember that God's always with us. We're called not to judge, but just to share. We're blessed to be born in this country with what we have. And I'm not saying go sell all your stuff and live in poverty. That's not what I'm saying. Enjoy your stuff, but remember, it's a blessing from God. But don't let the stuff or lack of stuff override that, steal that, blind you to what God's true calling for us is, which is just to go share His word. And I'm surprised that Lisa didn't share this, but that little skit that she put together, she took some time. We were here a couple days before leaving for Honduras to practice this skit. And we performed this skit at the school that we were painting the classrooms that Pastor actually preached about. And seeing the reaction at the finish of the skit, it went over great. And they got the message that the Lord's blessed us with hands and feet to go out and do His will. So I was truly touched by those kids there and their smiles and their genuine laughter. And there were so many different, I'm going to wrap up, because there's just so many different experiences, from the English conversion of all their little nicknames for each other, and just the pure laughter. It was amazing. I'm hoping somebody got that on video. I know we got pictures of that. I'm hoping somebody got that on video, because it was truly remarkable. It was just a joyous occasion. But for those that continue to have us in your prayers, for everybody that was taking care of things back home while we were away. We appreciate that. We thank you. Thanks.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. I want to finish up today, just a few minutes that we have left in service, to just share some of my memories, some of my thoughts. Of course, I want to say to Andy, who's watching today, thank you so much for being an incredible host. For being obedient to the call that God put on your life, for your wife and for your boys. Our prayers as a church family are with you. And we'll continue to be praying not only for you, but for the work there that you're involved in. We believe God has some truly incredible things in store for you and your family and the future of what God will do in and through you. So we're praying for you. And so thank you for hosting us. He says I was just messaging him back and forth a second ago, and he's basically just wanted to reiterate to the church, thank you so much. And I want to thank every one of you for your support of us and of Andy and his work there. We've been supporting Andy financially for 2 years now. So we've been a part of this work for much longer than just the missions trip. We've been supporting it for 2 years, and we believe that we're just barely scratching the surface in terms of what we're able to do as far as an impact there in Honduras and in partnership with Andy and the work they're doing there. We're going to have some cool projects, in fact, coming up where we can partner with one of the schools there to provide school supplies, etc. So more of that information will come. If any of you, God really just was kind of touching your heart as we talked about sponsorship, child sponsorship, we will have opportunity to sponsor children within Honduras. And so, there's a picture of several of us with our sponsored child, and so we got to meet them. The interesting thing about many of the names that are used there in that area is that they use English names, but just pronounce them in Spanish pretty much. And so, my child that I sponsored, his name is Anthony, and so it's not Antonio, it's Anthony. And so, anyhow, we're excited to be able to sponsor him, and I met his parents, I met his dad and his mom, and the family, and so that's one of those things where I'm looking forward to being able to help provide for this child to go to this school, because we know it's a Christian environment. We know that it's that it's an environment where he's going to know God and follow God's plan for his life. He's currently in the 2nd grade, which means that we get to support him through the 6th grade. And man, we're believing and praying with Andy that the school will expand to 7th and 8th and even 9th grade. There's some property close by, but they need the funding to make it all come together. And I'm believing God's going to provide that so that the school can expand. I'm grateful for, every day we had a powwow at the end of the day. And the powwow was, what was your pow for the day? In other words, what was that thing that just, wasn't that good about the day? And then what was your wow? What was your highlight of the day? And so for me, there were many wows. I struggle to find pows because I just, there's always something negative we can focus on, but I like to focus on the positive. So there's a lot of highlights to our trip. One of the highlights for me is that one of our life goals for my wife and I is that for our children's 13th birthday, we'll take them on a missions trip. And Rebecca just turned 13, and we were able to, this was kind of her birthday present from us. This was, even though we had so many sponsors that helped us, it was like, but the reality is for us, we wanted to take her and expose her to a missions experience, to see God through a different lens, to be able to love on people and share the gospel. And so that was a highlight for me, to watch her interact. Josh mentioned the highlight that we had at the school. We were able to serve in an orphanage and then also in a school. And the orphanage was, oh man, such a great experience. One of the things that happened at the orphanage that I loved so much was just connecting with these kids. We painted and then painted some more. But it was the moment when we took, not just we, you took a gift for every one of those children. And so we were able to provide them with clothing. We were able to provide them with a little few candies and some things. But every one of those kids got a pair of flip-flops that we provided as a church. And so we provided clothing and things for every one of those kids. And then after we gave them out and we, just shared with them a little bit, Lisa did an incredible song with the kids, and it was a lot of fun. And we played games. But afterward, we just hung out and talked with the kids. And one of the coolest things is that they kept calling me Theo. And then they had 20 questions about, well, why do you, one of the kids, tattoos are not a big thing there. And I was wearing shorts and I have a tattoo on my leg. And they were like, Tío, ¿por qué tienes tatuado? Like, why do you have a tattoo? Because it's very gang related there. It's not culturally like for us, it's art, it's gang related there. And so they were like, eres pandiero, like he's a gang member or something. I'm like, no, I'm a pastor. But this kid, he kept, Theo, Theo, what about your family? Theo, what about Theo? And I'm like, dude, I've never been so happy to be called Theo in my entire life. But I'm telling you, just being around those kids and sharing them with our pictures and our families and our experience was just, those were the highlight moments for me. Yeah, we painted walls. Yeah, cool. I'm used to that. I'm grinding and doing work and painting, and there's something that's fulfilling about seeing a wall that was one color, now it's another color. Like, yes, that was good. But it was the moment around the table with the kids, the little boys calling me Theo. And it was the moment at the school, the second area where we served, where when we were there was this moment that Josh referenced a minute ago where the kids wanted to learn English. And so they were asking, ¿cómo se dice albóndigas en inglés? How do you say meatball in Spanish? And I'm like, why are they asking these strange words? Like meatball, they wanted to know meatball. They wanted to know potatoes, ¿cómo se dice papas? And I was like, o papas fritas, they wanted to learn about French fries. And I'm like, and they're asking these questions, and then we kind of catch on to what they're doing. So they had a nickname for every one of these kids, like they all had nicknames. And of course, there was the one girl who was engaging in a lot of conversation. She was kind of the one that was, conversating with me. And they said, and they called her papas or papa fritas, or they had all these nicknames for her, potato or French fries, and and they had all these nicknames for her. And then there was this other kid, albondiga. They were like this meatball kid, and of course, homeboy came and he was a meatball, And then there was another one. He was matchstick, and he era bien flaco, There was another kid, matchstick or chopsticks, and they were all just skinny kids, And man, we were dying laughing. And every time I would tell them a word like meatball, albondiga, then they would all say it in English, meatball, and they would just die laughing. And those were the moments for me. Those were the moments for me that I realized that it wasn't about painting walls, and it wasn't even about the message that we shared in terms of a gospel message. It was the experience of just living life and sharing a conversation that lit up their hearts and lit up our hearts as well. And so the experience was absolutely amazing. I'm not going to share a message today. But I think I will save this for next week, because it falls in line with God having a unique purpose for all of our lives. And the reality is that that's exactly what we were able to go there and do, is serve God's unique purpose for our lives. And say, God, would you use us? One of the things, before we close up today, one of the things that when I first got saved almost 20 years ago, I connected to churches that were bilingual. I connected to churches that, I connected to our district, which is a bilingual district. And I had this desire. I'll never forget, I was probably 18 or 19 at the time. And I went to a youth camp. And the youth camp was in Spanish. And it was near Las Cruces, New Mexico. And we were there. And I remember saying to myself, God, if you could use me to speak Spanish, Lord, teach me Spanish. I want to learn Spanish. And I had a strong desire. I'll never forget that. It was a very specific moment. And, through the years, I learned some Spanish, but I've struggled with it. I'm very timid when it comes to speaking Spanish, especially on a stage. It's worse, and maybe that's how you guys feel when you get on a stage. But Spanish to me is horrifying to speak in Spanish. But Sunday night, I had the opportunity to preach a message in Spanish. And I was stressed out about it. I was like, man, God, why? I will do anything else. Lord, you want me to, you want me to, anything. Lord, I'll paint 10,000 walls. I'll paint them with precision. But Lord, don't make me get in front of people and speak Spanish. And of course, Lord's like, yeah, I don't really listen to you. But anyway, so get up there and share the word. So anyhow, I got up and I was able to share a message in Spanish. And there were times where I struggled. There were times where I was thinking to myself, this doesn't make sense to me, but hopefully they're getting something out of it. And but here was one of the thoughts, and I close with this. One of the thoughts was that God created us all very uniquely. Every one of us has huellas digitales. We have fingerprints. Every one of us. None of them are alike. Not a single one of us have the same ones. And with that thought, I'm reminded that just as God has created us uniquely, and we all have huellas digitales únicas, just like we all have unique fingerprints, God has a unique purpose for our lives. And while we were away, we received the unfortunate news that our brother Mike Chacon had passed away. And we sat around a lunch table, and we were eating local food cooked by local people, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. There's no way. This is like something's wrong. This is not real. In fact, normally I wouldn't even have had access to the internet until about 4.5, 5 hours later. And so it was just by chance that we got online for a second. And I got the news from Mary that Mike had passed away. And we all were around that table. And I'll be honest, for me, as a pastor, it was one of the more difficult moments, because in that moment I needed to be strong, but I couldn't. In that moment I needed to project strength, and I needed to calm everybody and let them know that it'll be all right, and we'll all miss Mike, but we'll celebrate his life when we get back. And in that moment, I couldn't stop but cry. I couldn't help myself but just crying and weeping and try to muster words and muster a prayer. It was absolutely difficult. But I realized something in that moment, that that's who God asked me to be. And just like my fingerprints are unique, the call of God on my life is unique. And just like your fingerprints are unique, the call of God is unique on your life. And just like the fingerprints of Mike were unique, and though he's no longer with us, his fingerprint has been left on this earth in more ways than one. And tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I want to invite you back. We're gonna be here at the church, and we're going to celebrate his life. We're not going to have a great graveside service, but we are going to have a service here at church, and we're going to have a meal that follows. We want to gather around Sister Vitalia, who's probably watching today. We want to gather around her. We want to celebrate Mike's life. We want to remember his smile. We want to remember what God did in his life and what God did through his life. And we want to live our lives to say, you know what, when we're finishing our race on this earth, that we can be like Mike and say, you know what, we finished and we ran well. And so I'm going to share more about that tomorrow as I have an opportunity to share God's message, share God's word, a message time in the service. But let's celebrate Mike's life. I knew today was going to be a very bittersweet experience because we were coming back on a really super high of what he did in Honduras. But we were coming back to a church that was grieving the loss of one of our own. And we were coming back to that very somber moment. And so I pray that the smiles in the kids' faces can remind us of the smile that's on Mike's face right now. No more pain, no more sickness, no more sorrow, no more difficulty, for we're reminded that in heaven every tear is wiped away.